Okay, now this is Alpha's chosen the speaker, and to introduce the speaker, Bill J.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill, and I'm an alcoholic. I believe in miracles, and there is a room full of them here again tonight. And Alf, congratulations on your 5 years. It's a major accomplishment. It's been said before, we see you around at lots of meetings in the area. We've come a long way. There's still a long way to go. I'm supposed to introduce the speaker. I've known this guy for quite a few years, since March 1st, 1978, when he was born. 34 years. He's also the father of 2 of my grandsons. What's his name? Same as yours. So I've heard this guy talk lots of times, ever since his first goo-goo dad crap. Hi Dad, how you doing? I love you. Which, he's had opportunities not to. But I want everybody to give a warm welcome to Eric.
Well, thanks very much. 12 Step says we try to carry this message, and we can't do that without these sorts of opportunities. And I wanted to thank you too for your your repeated contribution to Alcoholics Anonymous in Huntsville. Milford Bay is not close to Huntsville, and Mel's up there all the time. And, that helps it a lot, keeps our rooms alive, and that's trying to carry the message. So thanks very much. Congratulations. So it's my job, as you all know the rant, to tell you what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like today. And I'll try and do that as quickly as possible. So what I was like, I was born in Baysville, so that should say it all right there. As Billy J there says, March 1st, 1978, I was brought into this world in that hospital over there. To keep it brief, life was fairly normal until about the age of 8. I just want to say too, Dad's coming up 18 years of sobriety in August. And, I never really knew he had a problem. So that tells you that side of things there. My mom, however, I'm trying to carry the message, put it that way. But when I was 8 years old, divorce plagued the 80s. We lived in sort of a community in Baysville that was tucked up on the farmstead of my grandparents, and all the families surrounded around there. And, it was a great place to be. But there was a lot of booze and a lot of partying and a lot of bad living, and the end result is, and that goes on for too long, obviously, it stopped working, and a lot of broken families, and I had a huge family, lots of cousins to hang around with. We all sort of clinged together and sort of made it through. Anyways, when my parents broke up, I got pretty rebellious, and that was sort of the beginning of my isms. Too young to drink at 8, but I got really rebellious. Just to the point of, give me a list of things not to do, and I'm pretty sure all those things will be done, and the things that you said could you please do won't be. And that was me. So that went on and on. I played geographical parenting. I bounced between my dad. Didn't like some choices he made, so I moved in with my mom. I didn't like choices she made. By the time I was 16, I was on my own. So there's childhood. Gone. We should be able to do this. So at 16 years of age, I'd already dabbled in alcohol a little bit. When I was, we'll jump back a little bit, around 12, I was living with my mother at the Baysville Pavilion. And, I would just sort of I was lacking, you know, and looking back, I was lacking sort of that parental, that family unit, right? My mom spent a lot of time in the bar, and you know, I would wait for her to pass out, and then the guys that were like 19 and 20 years old would come out, and I saw something in them that I could relate to, and I would steal booze and wait for the pass out, steal booze, and I'd go out to drink and try and be someone, right? And so that started really early. By the time I was 16, living on my own, I was living down on Wellington Street here in town. It's funny, you know, I was expecting to see a few more members out here that I used to drink with, and I was thinking coming over here, you know, this is going to be a room full of really wild times. A lot of them aren't here today. That's okay. You guys are. And I might add that it's a really great looking room of drunk. So anyways, I'm living down here on Wellington Street. I'm on student welfare going to Bracebridge High School. And basically I get my little bit of spending money on buying smoke and dope. And you know, alcohol is my drug of choice, but there is some other drug substance abuse that happened. It was easier to get. It was easier to hide. I remember coming home one of the few times I wasn't trying something to my dad, so he asked me what was wrong with my eyes. So, you know, I treated drugs like I did alcohol. Same thing, more is not enough. And so, you know, at that time I'm living out here and kind of, I'm practicing weekend alcoholism at 16 and 17. I mean, you know, looking back, that is a little bit young. But it was okay, you know, I was tall, I could grow in sideburns, I could go sit down at Castaways and get a jug of beer, 17 years of age. And I did. I used to hang out in all the bars around here. I'm a musician at night, so, you know, that was my scene. And to kind of be part of that came drinking and drugging. And, you know, I never thought, you know, you figure growing up, you see all the things and the mistakes that people make and the things that you won't do, and I'm not going to be like that, and lo and behold, that's where you wind up. Al said it's a family disease, right? And, you know, my mom's side's big Irish family. They know how to have a good time and fight each other and carry on. And, you know, my dad's side's sort of a quiet alcoholic. It's two different elements, but it's not his story, it's mine. At any rate, by the time I was 18, I had to get off the drugs. I was starting to suffer from really, really bad anxiety, and the cure for me was alcohol. I got off the drugs figuring the anxiety would go away, and it didn't. And when I drank, it buried it. And then I would wake up in the morning and it would be there again. And I started daily drinking by grade 13. I used to keep a magnum of wine in my locker. And you know, the students, they walk around with their coffee cups and they're drinking coffee while I love it. And you know, that's where it started. That's where it started. From there, again, you know, pretty avid in the music scene, hanging out with a lot of people that were a lot older than me. Booze was really available, and you know, I went through these phases. Didn't really like the taste of beer, so I slammed into Jack Daniels for 6 or 7 months, and you know, that binge landed me a sexual assault charge. It landed me really a family that wanted nothing to do with me anymore because I was turning into a really, really violent, mean person. And that's not me, you know. But still, alcohol wasn't a problem, it was the brand. And so then I thought I'd get sophisticated and go into wine, right? And, you know, when I moved out of Bala 10 years ago, I had like a plate rail that went around the whole room of the apartment. And we emptied 17 recycling bins of wine bottles out on the road when I moved out of there. I used to keep them for some reason. I don't know, tell war stories about each bottle or whatever. So that's, you know, that's how I drank. I was a daily drinker. I had all sorts of excuses on why I had to drink. You know, when I got out of high school, I got into the trades. I'm a carpenter by trade. You know, washing down the sawdust to every girlfriend I ever had. That was my excuse because I was told over and over and over again that maybe, you know, you drink a little bit too much, you might want to do something about it. And, you know, I would just say, see ya. I didn't think it was a problem. I was going to work every day. Now, Dad and I were talking about 16 years ago, we're figuring. I made a phone call to my dad because my water was shut off, my hydro was shut off, but there was booze in the fridge. And it was take a drink and keep going or do something about it. And I placed a call and says, well, you know, why don't we go to a meeting together? And, you know, right off the bat, I'm playing the, well, what are we going to do there? What's it going to be like? Are they going to teach me how to drink normally? And you know, he didn't say anything. He said, just come, you know, I'll pick you up. And we went to the Thursday night here, and I went and picked a medallion up that night for my dad. And, you know, that stint of sobriety might have lasted 3 days, and this isn't for me. See you later. God kept me out of the rooms for quite a while, or I kept myself away from the idea of God for quite a while, and wouldn't let that come in, right? I'm stubborn. I want to do it myself. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And at any rate, that didn't work. Lots more chaos went down. And I moved out of Bala to Huntsville about 10 years ago. And making promises. I got married when I got to Huntsville. I remember saying to my wife, well, you know, we'll buy a house and the drinking will cut down because I'll have so much work to do, you know. Like, we're 20-something. There's, you know, this is just a phase, right? And we bought the house and drinking got worse. You know, the keg fridge moved in, and you know, the constant flow of people through the house because, you know, they're good anchors, right? They can hold people hostage, and so long as people are drinking in my living room, it's okay. And night after night after night. Got to the point where I built a shop at my house, and once I put that shop up, I had a guy working for me, and he knew 10 o'clock, as soon as the beer store was open, he was going to get a 12-pack of tall cans for me because I couldn't work without it. And, you know, what happened next? Intervention. My wife says I can't take it anymore. There was a new baby coming. And, you know, I had a lot of really good people show up to my house that day. Dad was there. Band members, you know, like real friends. I didn't think I had any real friends left, you know. And these people showed up and I said, you know, you got to do something. The night before, I was at the hospital, and the doctor said, you keep going, you're going to be dead. I said, all right, let's go to a meeting again. So up in Huntsville at the hospital about 5 or 6 years ago, I go in and I get that nice little silver Desire chip for my wife this time. Came out and I said, I don't need God to get me sober. And I stayed sober for almost 2 years on dry land. And, you know, in learning about the disease in the big book, it talks about the physical and mental aspects of this disease, right? And it was important that later on I got qualified as an alcoholic because I didn't really know what the real root of the problem was. And, you know, it talks about how when I'm active, I go on these sprees to the point where I hit a bottom. You know, my life has proven that they get repeatedly worse. I hit that bottom to the point where I want to quit, so I do. You know, my will's strong enough to let me put that bottle down 4 or 8 times. And I put it down and I start to feel good, you know, and I get those good feelings back. I get rid of the guilt and remorse and I start to, you know, maybe get a hug at home again. And stuff starts to feel good and the snake starts knocking on the door saying, Eric, you know, it's, things are pretty good. So long as you don't drink before noon, and so long as you don't do this, and so long as you don't do that, you're going to be okay. And you know, you battled that for 2 years. 2 years. No wonder I was crazy. Give me a drink. So I chiseled, you know, I'm a really good chiseler. I chisel away at my wife for 2 years. Just tearing away like a little piece of wood. And we were in Hamilton at my uncle's place, and she said, drink would be a good idea, wouldn't it? She said, yeah, it would be. I had her convinced, you know. So we poured a drink, and I put the show on. I had 2 beers at the table, and we should go to bed, honey. That's and I've had enough. And da-da-da-da-da, within a week, bam. So we got back from the city, and you know, I look back at this and I go, you know, I made an agreement with her. I said, you know, I need to start drinking again for my sanity, but only a 6-pack a week. There. So I'm planning the amounts before I even gone to the beer store and bought the stuff, right? Like, I've already got it figured out how it's going to work and what's going to happen. I don't give a flying hoot about the hydro bill, but I know that the alcohol's coming in and this, that, right? And so within that first week, here I am out working in the shop again, replacing the cans back into the ring repeatedly, sometimes 3 times a day. And, you know, hiding it. Now I'm hiding it. I'm hiding it from my friends. I got no drinking buddies left because they all want me sober. I got some that I can call on the phone, talk to them hammered, but I got to make sure no one's around, right? So that little relapse lasts for about 6 months. And my wife was away. I used to love when she went away. I'd draw the blinds, wham, get the phone book out. I had this little black book. I had numbers of guys. I knew they'd be hammered. We could solve all our problems. Her lights would just be gone and the booze would be flooding into the house and it'd just be me and that alcohol on the phone. You know, I was in my prime. And so she went away for 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, I'm like, blinds drawn. And the day she's coming back, I can't even stay sober. I had to meet a guy that morning on the job site and give him some money for some painting work he did. Well, I'll meet in the driveway, so I meet him in the morning with beer in my truck. And we drink a 6-pack in the driveway. I said, well, I still got to go to the bank. He says, well, why don't I meet you at Krabby Joe's and you go to the bank and we'll meet there. We'll have a picture, a draft, whatever. Yeah, okay, so we do that. Well, it would have been cheaper to go to my house. Yeah, okay, let's get a dozen and go over there, right? Well, the clock's ticking away, and I'm playing in my mind, you know, if I get back and crash, I should have enough time to sober up, and when she's going to come in the driveway, and what do? I meet her and my father-in-law like this, and I'm doing one of these. And he's a retired cop. He gets out. He had it with me before. Really had it. Now he says, I give up. My wife says, I'm done. What do? I call up my mom. I know she'll be drinking. I get a cab, tell the cab to take me to the beer store. I go up to Basil. She'll be on my side, and we can sit and badmouth my wife all night and talk about how brutal she is and how wrong she is. And the next morning, the guilt and remorse hit me like a wall. And so I phoned a taxi to get out of Baysville, and I came to town. That was February 3rd. 2010, I guess. I was staying on a couch at a friend's place, and they had one cooler in their fridge. I figured I better have that. So I had that on the 3rd, and on the 4th I came in Alcoholics Anonymous Thursday noon meeting in Huntsville. Now, this is my story, and this is how it goes. You know, things have just worked the way they're supposed to. And thanks to this program, I can see that now. But I came into my first meeting. I was really early. And there was a woman there, came and gave me a hug, and I needed that hug so bad. And you know, welcome. And, you know, the phone numbers are flying, the hugs are happening. And, you know, the fog's kind of cleared. You know, I look back to those other meetings, I went, I still have to beg. You know, how could I hear anything? But you know, I'm foggy. I'm full of guilt and remorse, but I got ears on, kinda. Some people in this room are at that meeting, and guy hands me how it works, and I thought he wanted me to read it, to take it home or something. And anyways, Eric's going to read how it works, and no, I'm not, and I passed it off there. Like, I couldn't read for my first 6 or 7 months, right? And you know, but I had to keep coming back. That first meeting, they didn't pull up the curtains and say, newcomer, roll out the carpet, like step 1, tradition 3, like we got to get this guy, you know. Of course I know I'm powerless over alcohol, my life's unmanageable. Why do you think I'm at Alcoholics Anonymous? They went about their thing, right? They were reading out of this book, the big book, right? This group reads out of the book. You know, it was named Alcoholics Anonymous. This fellowship was named after this book. And they're reading out of it. What concept? And they were talking about step 9. And, you know, I had been in contact. I wish those guys were here, Mike Graham, or Mike G and Mike P. You know, before coming into the fellowship, I had good cop, bad cop on the phone with those guys, right? I've known those guys for a long time, and like, one guy's going, you know, Eric, you know, like, and the other guy's going, you get your optional meeting, da 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 da. And, you know, the phone's ringing. And in the meantime, they're calling my wife and saying, don't take him back. My wife was given a choice by Mike. She said, you know, you're either going to lose into Alcoholics Anonymous or you're going to lose into alcohol. There is no other option anymore. Right? And I swallowed that idea. When I heard that idea, I went, you know, this is it. This isn't a lifetime commitment for today, yes, but it's either Alcoholics Anonymous or alcohol. I don't have any more options. So, you know, up to today, I still choose Alcoholics Anonymous. So in this meeting, step 9, we're talking about what's going on. You know, I'm not getting much. I get about halfway around the circle, and this guy's talking about these amends, and I'm, boom. You know, drink is but a symptom here. I didn't learn that till later, but I have a living problem. And the list started to play in my mind of people who I had heard over the years, and the guilt got deeper. But I knew with that deepened guilt that I had to keep coming back. I knew the only way out was here. So, you know, I was told, get a sponsor, join a group. And I look at these things to be really simple prospects for the newcomer, right? If you can't do that, you don't want to be here. Why are you wasting your time? Get a sponsor, join a group. You know, it requires no fees or dues, no nothing. I just put my name on a list and find a guy or whomever I can relate to. Right? So I did that. I thought, you know, I got to do what they're telling me to do or I'm not going to make it. You know, if they asked for money, I would have paid. And so I found a sponsor. I picked the guy with the most overtime. You know, and in my case, that turned out to not really work all that well. You know, for some people, maybe that works. For me, it didn't. His program was his and mine's mine. And, you know, I learned a little bit later on in sobriety about, you know, the sponsor, sponsee, or sharing partner, and the friend, or the, you know, the ex-problem drinker, and all this sort of stuff that talks on page 18. No lectures to endure, no axes to grind, no people to please, no fees to pay. You know, we're just here to carry a beneficial message, which is this message here, not my message, to the still suffering alcoholic. So what happened to me in my first year is was a lot of really good stuff. You know, I hung out with some really good guys, and we were AA 24/7. I think it took about 3 months of work in the beginning, and you know, if there was 2 meetings a day, I was there. I was traveling all over the place, up here, down there, over there, whatever. If I got a resentment room, I go to another town. It was great. And you know, I really enjoyed it, but here's the problem. By about 12 months, I'm sitting on the 1, 2, 3 dance, and I've got a sponsor knocking on my door every third day going, you know, are you praying? Have you done your 4-step yet? Are you praying? Have you done your 4-step yet? You know, like, thank God that for me, I didn't take that approach because it may not be here. Because if I don't know what I'm doing, then I'm going to plunge off the deep end into some of this dark stuff. You know, it could be a death sentence for me. You know, it's, recovery is one-on-one. For this guy. I don't know about the rest of y'all. This is my time to talk, so. but this isn't just my opinion, it's the opinion of the 100 too. So we're going to argue with Alcoholics Anonymous on this, that recovery is one-on-one. I don't come to the fellowship to get well, I come here to carry the message, and I came here before to find somebody who had the message. I needed a tutor. Right? I needed a tutor, somebody to tutor me through these 12 steps. Somebody who's going to sit me down and take me through the program of action, the way it's laid out, the way it was written in 1939. I want to know the recipe. I want to follow it. And I wasn't expecting wellness overnight, but I wanted to know how it was done. Because what I was getting in my old situation with my old sponsor was how he was doing it. Okay, and I saw other aspects of his life behind the scenes where there was no program working. And it says in all our affairs. I'm not perfect, and I'm not sitting here preaching from a podium. But if I'm sitting here working a wonderful AA program, yet I've got weight issues and hoarding issues that I can't take care of, then I'm not really working the program in all my affairs. I'm working the program in my little fellowship tunnel here. Right? So thank God I picked up on that, and there was this woman up in Huntsville says, you know, I'm doing this little study called Back to Basics in the big book. If you ever get a chance to sit through it, it's a wonderful program. It's a study of the 12 steps to Alcoholics Anonymous in the big book. And they're just highlighting paragraphs, steps 1 through 12. There's some Oxford group stuff in there. It's a great kickstart for knowledge on the steps, but it's not doing the steps. So I was really disappointed about that. And this woman says, well, you know, if you're interested in going through the 12-step work in the big book, I know somebody who'll do that, right? She gave me a number of guys. I phoned him that night. And I said, you know, I'm really interested in this. And she said, okay, well, here's the way to do it. You know, you phone me, I'm not going to phone you. And I'm not chasing you. I can, you know, I later learned that I can't really hang on and care about sponsees too much, because you know what? A lot of people leave these rooms. And it's really unfortunate. That's the reality. So he says, what day is good for you? You know, he left it wide open for me. I said, Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Okay, we'll meet at the church. That's great. Every Tuesday, 7 o'clock, 3-hour meetings. We did that for, I don't know, 20 some odd days. And we went through the book. And we followed the design. It's a book of directions. It's a textbook, you know. If you follow, you know, the directions, you're going to get a spiritual awakening. So he started me off in spiritual awakening. You know, it goes through. It talks about the spiritual awakening that some of us get. Not this guy. I'm hoping one day that I see the burning bush. Didn't happen for me. I got the educational variety that talks about it. And for me, the educational variety was working through the big book. So, you know, this was my education. I was sitting down for an education. Step 1, the first 44 pages. What a haul. But we're talking about powerlessness, okay? And we're talking about things that I can look at, and if I can't relate to what's in that book in the first 44 pages, then what is the point? You know, really, if I'm not a real alcoholic, and I got some other problems, I'm allowed to be here, but what's the point of going through all this work? You know, I can come and warm your chairs and drink your coffee and not be the real deal. And that's okay. But this guy wanted to qualify me. That's what he wanted to do. So he sat down, page 18, we went to contract. He said, here's what I'm here to do for you. No access to grind, no lectures to endure, no people to please. Gave me the whole gamut. Says, you know, these are the conditions that work for best for us. Many take up their beds and walk again. That gave me hope right off the start. Many take up their beds and walk again. Unbelievable. So he laid that was his position, right? Now my position. We move a little further on in the book and we talk about the types of alcoholic, right? We talk about moderate drinkers. And then we talk about type 2s, the bar drinkers, you know, the guys that go there every day, but if the doctor said, you know what, you're going to die if you keep drinking, they go, well, I guess I'll stop. And then there's the type 3s, you know, the Jekyll and Hyde. The guy who doesn't have choice over drink. The guy who, no matter what you do for in any human aid or anything possible, has no choice on whether or not he's going down to the liquor store eventually to pick up that bottle and drink it and drown everything and take it all away. Please, that's me. Thank you. So I'm qualified, 44 pages. Step 2. Now step 2, that really kept me messed up for a while, you know. This power greater than myself business, I just kept looking at the God of your understanding. And that wasn't going to work for me. You know, I'm talking about the God of my understanding, going, well, what does it look like? And what is this? And what is that? You know, is it that guy up there with the beard? Is it this? Is it that? And, you know, step 2 is a willingness thing. Scratch the surface, people. Willingness is showing up. Showing up here is willingness. You know, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Is all I needed to make a start was to show up here and believe that maybe Alcoholics Anonymous might work for this guy. Because what I was doing out there wasn't working. And that, as it gets further on, you know, I'm talking about we agnostics in the book now. As it gets a little further on, I love this line. I drill it to people that I talk to all the time. The line that saved my life was, God is everything or he's nothing. Either God is or he isn't. What's my choice to be? Now, I like numbers. I'm a guy of percentages, right? Everything is 100%, not 95. So that means now I can accept your God. I can accept their God. And I don't have to think about what God is. It's not an intellectual program for me anymore. I've melted the icy intellect, as it says. I don't have to think about it. God just is. Good days, bad days. I can move on now. Step 3 is a prayer. Page 63. I sat there with this guy. I held hands. You know, we do a Monday night meeting up in Huntsville. We do the Back to Basics study on Monday nights. And when you hold hands with a group of 18 people, 13 people, 2 people, and you do that third step prayer, there's power in numbers. I leave that meeting, I'm floating like this. If I'm sitting in my shop working with somebody in the big book and we do that prayer together and I'm doing that with my sponsor, I'm floating like this when I leave. The power comes in, not my choice, right? I've lost all power and choice. Lack of power is my dilemma. Where am I going to find the power? I'm going to pray for it. I don't know what it is, so I'll go with the willingness. Because after step 3, what do? We make a list. When? Now. I sat in the rooms my first year. The step 4 thing was like, oh, so huge. It was huge. I don't want to do it. I'm so scared. And I got the sponsor, you know, have you done your 4th step yet? And, you know, I would have avoided that 4th step. This new sponsor of mine that follows the design for living in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous said, well, it's just a list. It says, we even got a chart. It's a list of names, right? I got these charts. People, places, and things I resent. People, places, and things that I'm fearful. People, places, and things that harm. I make a list of names. It gives me a little column there to write the cause. I'm not writing the morbid horror story here. I'm getting down to causes. I want to know what the cause is. You know, talks in books the Mrs. Brown thing, right? You know, resentful at her because, you know, she's kind of like messing around with the guy down the street or whatever. You know, very simple cause. It's not about names or... I finished the list, and I got to take that list, you know, and say it again immediately, unless I got to postpone because the right person's not around, whatever. The right person was sitting right there at the table. Okay, here we go. And I give you the 5th step, and his duty was to sit there and help me work through what sort of feelings or emotions were responsible in each of these causes, and what character defect was responsible on my part. We're looking at me here, not those guys I resent, because I'd hack them up, I'll tell you. But you see, this is a beneficial part, having him fill in the blanks. Because me, full of guilt, remorse still, maybe not so bad at this point, but I just want to check everything. You know, if I could spell it out, A-S-S-H-O-L-E. Done. At the end of the day, what I'm looking at this step 5 for is to draw a picture. Eric can see the patterns and character defects that are responsible so I can get to step 6. I can't get to 6 without the 5 lists, right? And it's not the causes, it's the defects of character over and over and over and over again. On step 5 and 6, I got a really good story, you know, like step 5 and 6, I did one about 6 or 7 months ago. I did another 4 recently because I was getting resentful at the fellowship. You know, so I go through this list, right? One thing that wasn't on there that was on there before, and like I said, it wasn't me checking it off and going, you know, you're good now, was dishonesty. It's gone. It's one character defect that's gone. The rest are still there. But one's gone in 6 months. That's progress. You know, that's what it talks about. This is, I'm far from perfect, and this is not an overnight matter. Just ask my wife. But I'm still married. So I get to step 7. You know, I'm sure you've all heard this idea about character defects and shortcomings are different things, right? I can't remove the defects of character as I ask God to. I don't have the power to remove them. I've been trying to remove them my whole life. I just have the willingness to have them removed, and it'll happen in God's time. So when I fall short, I pray on that 7-step prayer. Please help me once a day to not be such a maniac. Thank you. Amen. Step 8. Made a list. Well, I did that back in step 4, all those people I harmed. I kept that list before I burned the rest of the garb. And I rewrote it. Like, I physically wrote it because I wanted to make the list, right? I'm trying to follow the directions. Speaking of following the directions, the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I went through with my sponsor, we even followed the directions where it talks about, we're making an arc, if we met, are we short on mortar, and all this sort of jazz, right? And so then we take the book down from the shelf. And we did. We're following the directions, right? We carefully reviewed the first 5 proposals. I went back to the first 5 proposals. I didn't miss a step, I didn't miss a page, I didn't miss anything. I'm kosher to move on. And get stuck at working on these steps so I can live them. I need guidance from a teacher to get through them the first time. But, it just keeps getting wider and wider and wider and wider and bigger and bigger. So step 8, I got that list, and a lot of those people on that list, I'm into this sort of working amends thing. Even there's a little bit of progress there because I was like, oh, this is a working amends, this is a working amends. No, not all of them are. Recently, I just agreed with my wife to go see a social worker. And to me, this is part of the amend. Now, asked me to go see a social worker a couple of years ago. I go, why? What's your problem? But I realized there's things that have changed in the marriage since I started and entered into this World Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, I'm never there because I'm out working with people in the program because I have to. I'm going to meetings. I'm here tonight. I run the Monday night meetings. A GSR is Friday night meetings. I'm working with sponsees as much as I can. I'm doing what I have to do to stay sober. A lot has changed, right? And there's 2 kids been brought into the world too during this time. One's 4 and one's 3 months old. So a lot's changed. And what I'm noticing is I've sort of come okay with the idea that I can live in a space with 4 individuals and we do our thing. Well, no. We're not cool with that. So part of this working amends is, working on the family element too. It's not just all me. The damage was done big time at home, right? And these are some of the biggest amends that I have to make, I know I owe amends, lots of amends, and again, they will happen in God's time. That first meeting I talked about, step 9, thank God I called old Mike G, because I was ready to make amends, like I know the people and I'm going out and he said, whoa! You better talk to somebody about it. I said, will you be the guy? He says, no, that's too easy. Another little life-saving matter there. That's too easy, Eric. You're not getting that easy. Either you want to be here or you don't, right? You need and want to get sober are crucial to the recipe. I can't make the cake without certain ingredients. And, if I'm going to lack the need and want, or I'm going to lack the formality of the 12 steps to Alcoholics Anonymous, the cake's going to be flat. That's all there is to it. So step 10, I do step 10 to the best of my ability. It's not rosy. I'm really good at promptly admitting when I'm wrong for the most part. I like to debate a little bit with my wife on matters sometimes, but I find in the working world and in Alcoholics Anonymous and all these spaces, and I've heard it said in the Daily Reflections a few times, it talks about it's really easy to practice our program outside the walls of our home. And for those few hours that I'm home is where I really get tested, right? And I am a test to live with. But is it better than it was? Absolutely. So step 10, continue to take personal inventory when we were wrong, promptly admit it. And, I don't take personal inventory every day. Yeah, I'm not there. But I try, and I do review my day. And if something's really eating me up, I will deal with it. And I don't deal with it the way I used to. I'm not going to come racing over your head with a match. I'm not like that anymore. There's a change. Spiritual awakening is a change of character. Does my character change? Oh yeah. 3 years ago, I would never ever sit here in front of this group of people and be honored to be here. And be honored to discuss sobriety, because quit drinking was for quitters. You know. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God. Okay, so this tells me you don't get it in step 2 and 3, Eric. You got to do the steps to get that connection. How can I have a connection with a higher power when I'm riddled full of guilt, remorse, and everything else that's in that 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9? I've got to clear the path. When I clear the path, my side of the street's relatively clean to the best of my ability. I may have a connection, and I tell you, when I'm wired like I am right now, because I start off really nervous at these events and I start going and my mouth starts going, I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm wired to it. I'm connected to that power, right? I'm here to carry that message. It was freely given to me, I got to do the same, right? So when I get wired to that power, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. No drug or drink can ever come close to what that power is for me. And I don't try and intellectualize it anymore. Just don't care. You know, God removed care back in step 3. So, you know, step 12, again, like I said in the beginning, I try to carry this message. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, not the result of Joe's steps or Bob's steps or whomever. These steps. I got to do them. And I get to step 11. I have the spiritual awakening. Again, for me, educational change of character. Am I different? Absolutely. For the good. I've had the awakening. There is no choice. I'm here to tell you right now that if you do the work, there is no choice on whether or not you have the awakening. You know, and then we try to carry the message. So I say I can't try from my couch. You know, I cannot try from my couch, so I got to keep coming back, because guess what? You folks were here when I came in. And, you know, I always like to close my talk with a little thing that a dear friend of mine calls the real promises. That's an opinion, right? Well, that's not my book.
Your book's in front of you.
There it is. Oh. So, this is it for me, right? I came in here mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially bankrupt as a result of some serious alcohol abuse and just the loss of care for life, loss of care for other people, self-centeredness, all that business stuff, right? And this promise here says it all for me, because I don't care about financial insecurities. I don't care about all that stuff, but what I do care about is what it says here. It says, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it like a hot flame. We act sanely and normally, and we will have found that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. This is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor we are afraid. This is our experience. This is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And you know, like that to me, just do the work, get the rewards. And the rewards are not this big embellishment. The reward is basically to be able to live alcohol-free, sanely, you know, in and amongst other people. You know, I can go to bars today. I'm okay there. I don't fight that. You know, I can go places where there's alcohol and not sit and swear off it anymore, because, you know, back at the beginning of the book, it tells me I'm going to recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, right? I don't want to be recovering. I want to recover. And it says, you know, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women, and there's a lot more of us now, who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Mr. Bride.